let's get VS Code with the C# dev kit installed and running on our Linux installation. Once we do, we'll create a Blazor Web app to demonstrate creating an application, running a web application, and enabling hot reload in VS Code. This video is part of a series dedicated to developing C# applications on Linux. Along the way, we'll gain a better knowledge of how Linux works and how to make our apps truly cross-platform. If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel to stay informed of the new episodes as they come out. And if you're looking for even more .NET, SQL, and AI training, go to iamtimcorey.com. All right, let's go to our browser. I have Edge installed. If you haven't installed Edge, no problem. You can use Firefox, but it looks like it just did an update. Cool. Don't care. So I want to go to Visual Studio. And then in here, I want to go to Explore All Versions. We cannot install Visual Studio on Linux. It's only for Windows. And the reason why is because it's tied directly to the Windows libraries. That can't change. There's just really not a way to do that. But there is Visual Studio Code. Now, notice the little Linux icon here. Yes, it does run on Linux as well as Mac. So VS Code is not the same thing as Visual Studio. Yes, it's named the same, except for code at the end. I don't really love that. But what Visual Studio Code is really a text editor with some things bolted on rather than a full IDE. However, those things you can bolt on turn it into pretty close to a full IDE. So there's a lot of the things in Visual Studio you can bring into VS Code, but it's also a great web editor and text editor. So I really love it. We're going to do a free download for the linux64.deb files. So click that, and it starts downloading immediately. It'll talk more about what you have to do, but we're just going to hit Open File. And this is going to ask us to create a trusted certificate for install a package in just a minute. We install a package, have to ask for the password because we're elevating our permissions. So this installation really isn't that hard. It's just, run the file, download, run, and go next, and you'll be done. But there are some tricky bits when it comes to, first, make sure you have the SDK installed already. Here's that add Microsoft's app repository to Visual Studio Code. That's a good thing because normally what you need to do is you need to find a certificate and install that into apt or apt, and that's annoying. This does it for us, and yes, we trust Microsoft, so therefore it can keep VS Code up to date. Whoops. I want to continue. Hit next. There we go. Hit the wrong button. So with this, this installation is pretty easy as long as you have the .NET SDK installed first. You can install it later, but I really don't feel like that's a great process. I really prefer to do it this way. Okay, so with that being done, we are done. And now if we go to Visual Studio, we can see VS Code is installed, Visual Studio Code. And we're going to add that to, actually, let's just run it first and we'll pin it. So we're going to pin to panel. There we go. So it's going to ask us, hey, do you want to install this? And no, I don't want to install this AI feature for Copilot. We can do that later if you want, or you can, it's still there. Just once you log in. I personally don't use Copilot as much as I use the Claude code. So it's up to you if you want to set that up. We'll probably go over this and maybe Claude code as well in a future video. But for now, let's go ahead and say down here, browse our theme. We're going to choose the dark modern, I really like, and then we're going to mark as done. So with that, we've closed that out. We'll close out of the chat panel. And if you hit Control and the plus key, it gets bigger, which is really nice. That way you can see it a whole lot easier. Okay, so now over here in the extensions, and it's going to tell us what the popular ones recommended are, MCP servers. Let's just close all of that. And instead of browsing, we're just going to search for C#. And we do get the C# Dev Kit as the first one. It's the official one from Microsoft.com. As of the recording of this video, it's got 13.9 million downloads. And yes, it has a 3-star out of 5 average, but notice 192 reviews out of 13.9 million downloads. That's about right. You don't come and review things unless you're either really thrilled or really unhappy. So that's kind of where that lands. So I would probably put this at a 3.5 or 4 personally. I don't have half stars, but there's a lot that they could do better. But it is a nice feature. It's a nice upgrade from just a text editor for C#. So let's install with the auto update. When this installs, one of the things it's going to ask us for is for a login right here. Sign in to connect your account. And you say, yes, you want to allow that. And so I'm going to log in here with my account. So it's going to ask for my password, which is long. And then it's going to give me a one-time, don't worry, it's a one-time code. It's not a use every time code. Let me log in here, make sure that it authenticates my authenticator. Cool. Now I can close this page. And now we're signed in. It takes a couple of seconds for it to recognize. Last time I just hit connect again, it goes, hey, yep, you're connected. Cool. So what this does is it's licensed. Now, Microsoft licenses their debugger. And so you have to have a license for it in order to use it. You can't just use it for free. Because otherwise what happens is their competitors take their debugger and use it in their own products, kind of like what happened with Cursor with VS Code. So they just forked VS Code and created Cursor on top of it and kind of took all of Microsoft stuff because it was under a permissive license. They don't do that with the C# debugger. So that's proprietary, and that's the thing they sell, essentially. Now, the licensing for it, that's the way you have to log in, is for the license. But the licensing for it is very permissive. So it's the same as Visual Studio. It's if you are an individual, then it's free. If you are working in a company and the company makes less than $1 million a year and has 5 or less developers, it's free. It's only if your company makes more than $1 million or has more than 5 developers at it, which probably means you're making more than $1 million too. Only at that point do you have to pay for the professional license, which is the equivalent of what we're using here. So this is licensed now. So now I can set up our environment. .NET SDK is already installed, but it would ask us to install this. And for whatever reason, it's still saying .NET 8. I don't know why. This is why I don't like installing it with the tool. I like installing it first because we're on .NET 10. And you can go through all the rest if you want, or we can just mark them all as complete and say mark is done. So that way we're complete, we're done, we're installed, we're set up, we're configured. Now, we can come over here to create a .NET project. And it's going to discover the templates and say, hey, there's a lot of templates. Let's search for Blazor Web App. I want to install this. I'm going to put in demos. I'll create a new folder for this. Let's do the thing I hate doing, but it's great for demos, is Blazor 1 is the folder. I hit select down here in the lower right-hand corner. We're going to create a Blazor App 1 project. We're going to use a new SLNX format. And you can go to show all template options here to see that we're saying yes to HTTPS. We're in server mode. You can click that and change to auto if you want. Sure, let's create to auto mode. And then per page or component, we're going to include the sample pages. We're going to use top level statements. And we're not using the .dev.localhost TLD. We could if you want, but right now don't need to. So with all of that being configured, we hit create project, and it's going to create our project for us. And I'm going to say trust to the next level up, which is the demos folder. So that's now installing, configuring. Let's close out of, we don't need the AI. And over here on the left-hand side, you'll see a Solution Explorer now. And if you open that and collapse the File Explorer, we can go and look at it just like you look at it in Visual Studio, but it's on the left-hand side. So there we go. We can close out of this window down here. We can say mark done for all of these things. I don't know why it keeps popping up, but it seems to. All right. So now we have everything installed. What we can do is come down here to the run and debug without changing anything. It's just run and debug. And we're going to say C#. And we're going to launch let's launch the HTTPS version. So it's going to build the project. It's going to create the things necessary to actually launch this. And then it's going to launch in our default browser, which gives us this error. And the error says, hey, this isn't secure. So the reason why, if you come over here to our terminal, and let's actually make this a bit bigger too. There we go. If we do .NET -- version, we'll see that we're on version 10.0.103. Well, there's actually a regression. I found this out recently. There's a regression in version 103 in that the dev certificates don't install correctly. There was a merge problem when they merged files together, and so what happened is it kind of skipped a gear, and so it causes a problem with the trusting and cleaning of dev certificates. Now, there's ways we can fix this. We could manually install a certificate. We could roll back the .NET SDK to a previous version, the 10.0.102 version. It works just fine. Now, by the time this video comes out, the update will probably be out. So the 10.0.104 version, which comes out March 10th, that should fix this problem, so you can update to that. And then it should fix this problem. You can then work on your certificate. But for now, we're going to leave the certificate alone. We'll come back to it. It'll be a great learning experience to come back to it later and mess with that dev certificate, because you can do pretty much everything through the command line. And with Linux, it's always a little bit trickier. So we want to make sure we cover that. But for now, we're going to leave it alone and not worry about it. Go to advanced and say continue. So you may say, hey, this is not secure. There's a problem. Actually, it is kind of, because we're not really testing security. We're testing that we can run an SSL. It's a little bit different there. And we are running SSL. It's just that the certificate isn't trusted. Okay. And my goodness, the dark theme on Edge really has a problem here with readability, because there's more information in here, I think, but I can't read it. So that's just awesome. But our site does work. So if we go to our site, we can click around and do all the things on the site we would for a normal Blazor application. But if we come back here and look in VS Code, we don't see the hot reload icon. And if I were to change something, well, I don't think it's going to work. In fact, let's go over here, components, pages, and go to home and say, hello, YouTube. I'll save that. And if we come back over here to our page, counter, page, still says hello world. If we refresh, still says hello world. That didn't work. Okay. So what do we do for hot reload? Let's actually revert this. Let's hit stop, and we'll revert those changes back to hello world. So to turn on hot reload, we go to our gear icon down here. We go to settings, and then we can close out of this. We come down here to our extensions. We can go to C# Dev Kit, and down in here, you can find the C# experimental debug hot reload. So it enables hot reload when debugging. And then up here, which is hilarious, this is experimental, this one's not. This one says hot reload on save. The file will automatically apply changes when hot reload is available. So if hot reload is available, which is experimental, but if it is, then this option allows you to do hot reload on save, not just when you hit the button. So you need to check this box down here. By the way, if you don't know where to find that, just search for hot reload. And you're going to find down here, here's where all the different places are that say hot reload, but down the C# dev kit, here's a 3, and that's the checkbox. So either way, that's it. We close it out. We come back over here to our run. We hit the run button again. Wait for it to launch. And this time, get the fire icon indicating we got hot reload. Let's go ahead and kind of shrink these down a bit. Well, yeah, let's do this. Boom. Okay, so now we can shrink this down. We can close this out. And now in our hello world, we can say YouTube. I'm gonna hit save. I'm not gonna touch anything else, but watch the right-hand side. Hello, YouTube. So now we have hot reload working in Blazor and in any web application we build for .NET in Linux. So really not that hard to get set up. There's a couple of tricky bits here and there, and we have that one regression with the certificate that there's different ways around it if you wanted to, but really it's just wait for the new update, which comes out that week, and that'll fix it. So this is development on Linux. We have a lot that we can do inside of our VS Code now. Like this is our Blazor project. If I wanted to, I could add new projects to the solution, but I'm not going to. If I were to, let's just close this out so you can come here to File, and then we're going to close folder. And let's come back. I don't know why this keeps popping up. It's all marked as done. Mark is done. Next section. Mark is done. Next section. They're all marked as done. So I don't know why. But if you come over here and say create new project, these templates here, you can find anything you can run on Linux will be in these templates, which you may go, wait a minute, I'm missing something. Yeah, you're missing WinForms, WPF, UWP, those projects because they all have Windows in the name for a reason. But web projects, gRPC projects, which is technically web too, web as well. I mean, class library, console app, test projects. These are all worker services. These are all cross-platform projects that you can install and run right away. Now in the future, we'll install Uno and see how we can do even more with desktop apps that would work on Windows as well in Linux. So we'll work on that, and that uses XAML and MVUX or MVVM. So we'll get that in the future, but for now, you can build any web app you want and go to town on Linux right now. Okay, so that's how to install VS Code. That's how to get it set up, get it configured, get a web project running, look at the dev certificate, and also how to turn on hot reload. Next up, what we'll probably do is we'll probably install JetBrains Writer just to have another option for what to do when working on C# in Linux. But for right now, you have all the tools necessary, even with the editor, to go and start making .NET projects on Linux. I would encourage you, check it out, try it out, do a few practice projects, or open all your current existing projects and just start working on them and seeing how, what bugs you run into, what things you run into to go, man, I'm missing this or that. And let me know down in the comments. We'll probably cover it in a future video. One of the things that's coming up in a future video, not next video, we are going to cover how to work with things like SQL and other, Docker containers and things like that. We'll get to that in a little bit because we do need to have those additional things installed as well. Okay, but for now, thanks for watching. And as always, I am Tim Corey.